Hello, welcome to the Fantasy Show. Well, no double-digit haul for Erling Haaland last week, but we're all heading into double digits now as Game Week 10 is almost here. So let's see what's coming up this weekend for us. Well, this is your first reminder, your deadline, Saturday at 11 a.m. UK time. That's 90 minutes for Newcastle take on Arsenal. There's a 3 p.m. double header for those captaining Haaland or Salah as Manchester City head to Bournemouth and Liverpool take on Brighton. On Sunday, Manchester United host Chelsea, and then Game Week 10 concludes on Monday with an all-London affair, Fulham against Brentford. And joining me in the studio today is Sam Bonfield from the FPL family, who is one of 309,000 managers who triple captained Erling Haaland. I know it was a bit of a last-minute decision for you, but a week on, just the one goal, 6 points. How are you feeling about it?
Feels like a little bit of a wasted chip, I think. But having said that, it was still a good opportunity to play it, so we go with it.
Yeah, and it's done.
Yeah.
We move on. I'm going to talk about Game Week 10. We are going to talk about Game Week 10, but our hot topic this week actually does concern him. We're going to focus on the three most expensive players in the game. That man, Haaland, Mo Salah and Cole Palmer, who are also the three highest scorers in the game. So let's bring in another guest to discuss this as well. It's Fantasy Show regular, FPL Harry. And Harry, we all know we can't have them all. That's the big problem we've got in FPL this season. But you've been debating all week whether to actually sell Haaland and bring in Salah. Talk me through your thinking there and which way you're leaning, how likely it is that you're going to make what is a huge move in terms of your FPL team.
Yeah, I've been debating it for most of the week and debating it still going into the deadline tomorrow morning. I have Erling Haaland in my team and I can move him down to a cheaper forward, some of which we'll talk about later on in the show, and then move up one of my cheaper midfielders. For me, it's Mohamed, but it could be someone like a Rodgers, a Semenyo if you have them, all the way up to Mo Salah with 2 free transfers. So it is free for me. I already own Cole Palmer and Bukayo Saka in my team, so that would give me the sort of 3 premium midfielders. But part of the reason I quite like the idea of it is how good these cheap forwards seem to be this season and how many bonus points they're picking up when they score just a single goal. We're seeing lots of 8-9 pointers for some of those cheaper forwards this season, which means the value for Erling Haaland doesn't feel like it's quite worth it. And then, of course, just 1 goal in the last 4 and a lot of injuries for Manchester City just concerns me how they'll click over the next few games.
Sam, what do you make of those thoughts from Harry? Do you understand why he's considering it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the premium midfield seems to be the way to go at the moment. Like Palmer and Saka and Salah, particularly Salah being so consistent. I think we've had 6 double-digit hauls in 9 games for him. So, you know, has been the height of consistency this season. And this season, more than ever, is one of those games where you literally can't have everybody. So you have to make some tough choices. And picking between the premiums is one of those tough decisions.
And when we look at their stats for the season so far as well, Salah has routes to goal from 2 ways, it feels, particularly when you compare him to Haaland. 11 goals for Haaland already this season. But Salah, is it his assist potential as well that's appealing to you, Harry?
Yeah, it's his routes to points. And the good thing about his assist potential is it massively helps him in the bonus points. So previously when we saw Salah score 1 goal or something, he wouldn't really get that many bonus points as a result. But this season, because of how creative he's being and how clinical he's being for Liverpool at the moment, even if he doesn't pick up assists, he's making key passes, he's creating big chances, which is, just a nice route to points for him a lot.
You don't own Mo Salah, Sam, like myself. I absolutely hate not owning him, but I feel like whichever of those players I didn't have, I'd hate not owning him. When you look at the fixtures for Salah as well, as we just saw on the screen there, do you have a little bit of fear?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think Salah is the player that I fear most as a non-owner right now because he is consistent in the same way that the others haven't been. Even when we look at players like Palmer, it's been big hauls and then no returns. And it's been a bit more wavy with him. Certainly been that way with Haaland. Started the season so well and then dropped right off. So for me, with Salah right now, he is the player that I don't have that I most want to find a route to.
Yeah, it's consistency with Mo Salah that I sometimes think we maybe take for granted a little bit in FPL. Harry, as it comes to Manchester City, you mentioned it when I asked you about selling Haaland, the injuries. Is it the fact that maybe it's players missing that could be providing Haaland with the goals that is worrying you the most?
Yeah, so there's a lot of that, the fact that I think they're missing quite a few key players, particularly in that forward area that might be wanting to create for Erling Haaland. And it also means that the players that are on the pitch are playing a lot of minutes. So even the ones who are playing every week might be a little bit more tired than we'd want them to be because we aren't seeing that rotation, apart from in the cup midweek. But even that, we saw the likes of Phil Foden start and Rico Lewis as well. So both, lack of creativity up front and then also tiredness for those who are playing.
Yeah, we're seeing there, this is City's available midfielders and forwards. I think Kevin De Bruyne being missing is a big part of it. We do have to caveat all of this with, yes, Haaland hasn't been getting the points that we'd have liked, but some of his stats last week, as you said, it was quite unfortunate, wasn't it? So you do have to bear those in mind, that not every week is he going to kind of post such high, incredible stats and not get the returns.
Absolutely. It was his second highest Premier League XG ever last week, and just the 1 goal and no bonus points either, so just a 6-point return. I think he had 8 shots last weekend, 4 of them were on target. You know, in another day, he gets a big haul from that one. So it was unfortunate, but we aren't seeing the consistency yet.
Yeah, I felt like we had to say that because if he goes off big this weekend, I want people to know that the signs are there that maybe the goals could be coming. Harry, a word on Cole Palmer, because it feels like sometimes maybe we underappreciate him a little bit. Remarkable last season and just as remarkable this season as well. Is he kind of coming into that essential category for you?
Yeah, as a Chelsea fan, I could talk all day about Cole Palmer and how good he's been since he joined the club. But absolutely, I thought at the start of the season that the 10.5 million price tag that he was given might be a little bit too much. And I didn't own him for the start. And I feel like I got that one quite wrong. Looking between now and about Christmas, he's not in the European squad, so he doesn't have the extra fixture during the week. We have a really nice run of fixtures, Chelsea, from about game week 12 onwards. So for me, he's right up there with both Salah and Haaland at the moment.
Just very quickly, both of you. Obviously, I've said we can't have them all. It's very hard to get them all in. You could also put Bukayo Saka in this conversation as well because he's in that price region. If you had to order them, rank them in terms of priority for your team, what would it be with these three? Harry, sorry, to you first.
At the moment, I'd actually put Cole Palmer first because for me, he's non-negotiable, whereas Salah and Haaland, you could own one of the two. I don't think both of those because I like Saka. At the moment, I'm going Haaland above Salah. So Palmer 1, Haaland 2, Salah 3.
Sam?
For me, Salah, Palmer, Haaland.
Oh, that was tough. Sam, I can see the wobble in your voice there. Harry, we'll be back with you very shortly. We'll leave you to ponder that huge decision. Rather him than me. OK, well, Haaland, Salah and Palmer all feature in our Game Week 10 captaincy poll. So, as always, we want to know who you think the best option is. Just scan the QR code along the bottom of your screen right now to cast your vote. We're going to check in on the standings at the end of the show, as we always do. And if you're not watching live, don't worry. We're going to leave the poll up until the FPL deadline passes. You can still vote and see the results whenever you are watching. OK, Sam, we've spoken about the most expensive player and the most expensive forward in the game, but we wanted to have a quick chat about a player who is in red-hot form at the moment at the other end of the price bracket. He is the second most transferred-in player this week, Chris Wood. 2 more goals last week. That does mean it's 7 goals in total. He's only 6.4 million. But the big question is, can he sustain this? Is he the real deal for us managers?
He is putting on a show at the moment, isn't he?
Yes.
And he is really appealing because, as you said, Kels, he's just in at 6.4 million. So a nice budget-friendly pick. I think for me, the question is, can he sustain it? His goal conversion rate at the moment is 36.8. That is a massive goal conversion rate and isn't something you would expect to see continue over long periods of time. So I think for me, I don't see this being... It feels like a bit of a patch as opposed to being a run of form that I think will continue over the whole season. But isn't that what we want in FPL? We want to be on the players in these patches when they're performing really well, knowing we can move to one of the other assets when those performances dry up.
Yeah, it's all about jumping on these players at the right moment, isn't it? And I always worry with a player like that maybe we've missed the boat, particularly when you take a look at the fixtures that Nottingham Forest have got coming up. There's no doubting they're in brilliant form, but when you take a look at these fixtures, there's Arsenal away in there, there's also Manchester City away in game week 14 as well. Would that make you a bit hesitant to invest?
It would, yeah, because when you look at the likes of Wissa and Cunha and even Jiménez, the fixtures that those players have over the next few weeks are significantly nicer than what we're seeing for Nottingham Forest. So whilst Wood is in good form, so are those guys too. So I think when you're making those decisions about which cheap asset it is you want to go for, you have to kind of take form and fixtures and then invest there. And Wood is maybe losing the fixtures.
Yeah, so maybe if you've already got him, West Ham and Newcastle in the next 2, maybe hold, just maybe don't invest. And maybe the reason not to invest is because there's so many options in this price bracket. He's a top scoring forward under 7 million, but is it the other options that kind of make you a little bit hesitant and maybe you think there's other names on there that could provide more points longer term?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, Danny Welbeck has another tough fixture this weekend against Liverpool, but then after that, from game week 12 onwards, we see Brighton's fixtures really nice, right through until the festive period. Jiménez has a great run. Wolves' fixtures, we'll talk more about them later. They've got a phenomenal run coming up. So Cunha and Strand, Larsen both in that conversation. And I really like Wissa, was in fantastic form pre-injury, has come back from injury and continued to have that form. His partnership with Mbomo is so nice. I just think that you've got some really attractive options there that you can go to. And Wood is in that conversation for sure, but the fixtures aren't quite as nice as the other two.
Yes, so many really enticing options. You can maybe see why people are considering getting rid of Erling Haaland as well. OK, well, you teed it up perfectly then, Sam, because we're going to turn our attention to Wolves now. 2 of their forwards mentioned on that list. So let's welcome another guest. It's Oscar, a.k.a. FPL Focal on YouTube. And Oscar, the main reason we have to talk about Wolves, yes, they don't have the form. Good equaliser last weekend against Brighton. But their fixtures coming up mean that as FPL managers, we do have to consider them, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at the long-term fixtures. They've got a run of games that take you all the way to the new year. So I think at both ends of the pitch, you can look at potentially Aït-Nouri at the back. We can look at someone like Cunha, who we've mentioned. Nice fixtures, 2 home games up next. Southampton in game week 11 in particular.
I'm always hesitant, Sam, to look too much at fixtures, particularly when a team haven't won, and we're on the 1st of November now as we're speaking. But have you seen signs that they can take things from those defeats and even the draw last weekend into this run of fixtures to really capitalise?
I think it would be unkind on Wolves to look too much at their opening 9 game weeks of the season, because in that period they face... It's just been a horrendous run of fixtures. If you could say, let's pick out a fixture run to start the season, Wolves' one has been exactly what you wouldn't have wanted. Between now and the next wildcard window, the second wildcard, the fixtures are great. And I think we're seeing enough from them. The recovery against Brighton, the performance against Manchester City, where they were so unlucky not to get something out of that game. The last couple of weeks, there's been performances from Wolves, and those performances going into that fixture run that we've just seen feels like the right moment to get on the bandwagon and invest.
Yeah, according to Opta, the toughest start to a season for any team so far, so that maybe explains some of it. We saw on that graphic before, didn't we, that there was a couple of Wolves forwards that are getting a lot of attention. Harry, we're going to see your team, Oscar even, you're not Harry, wrong one, sorry, not much sleep tonight. We know that you'll have brought... We don't know this, I know this. Gosh, I can't get my words out now. You've brought in Cunha, Oscar, there we go, I'm getting the right names. But can you see why people are looking at Cunha and maybe the even cheaper Strand Larsen?
Yeah, I think Strand Larsen's a sound pick as well. His underlying numbers are nice. Obviously, he's like a good 1 mil or 1.1 mil now. I think Cunha's just gone up in price. For me, Cunha's the main man. He's on penalties. He's creative. He's so involved. He's good for bonus. So if you've got the extra million, I think he's worth it.
Yeah, Cunha actually went up on Thursday night as well to 6.6 million. And I'm about to call you someone else now as well, Sam. Sam, you've got a really good stat that really caught my eye when we talked about Cunha and the extra appeal and why you would pay the extra 1.1 million for him.
Yeah, and I think it's close because Strand Larsen is a really nice option in the cheap price bracket, but Cunha is top for expected assists across the forwards.
That's amazing.
Total forwards. 1.59, and that is significantly more than the second best. So Jiménez is in second, 1.12. So that's a big jump. And when you think that's ahead of players like Haaland, that's ahead of Ollie Watkins, it's ahead of all those really expensive premium assets, Jackson and Havertz as well. So you are getting a significantly different route to points with Cunha because you have the goal threat, but you also have assist potential. And if you can be getting both of those things across the game, then you're laughing really, and that makes him worth the extra 1.1 million to me.
OK, what about the other ends of the pitch then, Oscar? Because Raúl Aït-Nouri is getting a lot of attention. If you are going to invest in him, though, we do have to say he is just 1 yellow card away from a ban. He's had 4 yellow cards already. But do you understand why people are looking at him?
Yeah, the yellow card's a good point, but I can totally see why people are going for him. You see here, his underlying stats are really impressive. He's actually got 3 goals and an assist in his last 4, where Haaland's got 1 goal in his last 4. So it's amazing what he's doing right now, and he's so cheap. I don't think they're a reliable source of clean sheets, but he's got that attacking upside where he will deliver lots of attacking returns over the season.
Yeah, delighted I brought him in last week and benched him when he got an attacking return at Brighton, of course. If you could only have 1 Wolves player, who would it be? Or would you be tempted to actually do a double up or maybe even a treble up?
I think they've got the fixtures to go for a treble up if you wanted to. I think I'd struggle to pick out 3, though, because I think Strand Larsen, alongside Cunha and Aït-Nouri, are the best 3. But would you really want to take up 2 forward slots with 2 Wolves assets? Probably not. So I'd rank Cunha as my first choice, then Aït-Nouri. Once the goalkeeper settles back in and we know whether it's going to be Jose Sarr or whether it's going to be Sam Johnson that's between the sticks, then you could go for one of them if the clean sheets start coming.
Oscar, what about you? Who would be the one Wolves player you would have?
Yeah, for me, it'd be Cunha as well.
Perfect. OK, well, Oscar, thank you very much. I'm going to learn your name during the break. But it is time for us to take a little pause. Here's another quick reminder, though, to cast your vote in our captaincy poll. The QR code is in the bottom corner of your screen. We're going to check in on the results at the end of the show. Don't go anywhere, though. We're going to be back with lots more FPL advice in just a couple of minutes. See them. Hello, welcome back to the Fantasy Show. We are getting ready for Game Week 10, and we've still got loads to get through. So let's welcome back everyone. I've got Sam. I've learned everyone's names now. We've got Harry and Oscar. I know the difference between the two. We're going to try and answer now some of the transfer dilemmas that you guys have been sending in. As always, thank you very much for sending them in. Question 1, and this is going to be a very common one. Sam, Gabriel. I'm a Gabriel owner. Keep or sell?
Arteta has said he needs to wait and see, have a look at him, see where we get. We did have this last week, didn't we, with Saka, and then Saka started. I think you keep, because longer term you're going to want to hold Gabriel, particularly if you haven't got a wild card. Hold him for now, play him. If he doesn't start, I don't think he's going to come on, so just make sure your first sub is good.
Yeah, important to have your bench sorted this week, isn't it, Harry? Do you agree?
Yeah, I have Gabriel and I'm going to be holding on to him. I've got a little bit of cover on the bench from Mykolenko, so if you have anyone really that can cover, I would just hold on to him.
Yeah, OK. Well, Oscar, this next question is going to be coming to you. Which of the Manchester United's assets is best to bring in ahead of Game Week 11 through to Game Week 13 when they face Leicester City, Ipswich and Everton?
It might be an unpopular one, but Bruno would actually be my pick for the set pieces, the penalties, plays 90 minutes every game. Everything goes for him. I actually really like Garnacho as well, who's a good 2 mil cheaper. He scored midweek in the League Cup, as did Bruno. He's got loads of potential. Amarim likes to play with wing backs that get really far forward. So I think Mazraoui and Dalot could even be solid picks from them.
Yeah, a few options there, Harry. What do you think?
Yeah, I think at the moment I'd be going either Bruno Fernandes or with Diego Dalot if I was looking for a defender. The issue you've got is you might have like split managerials through this nice run that they might change system and it might affect which players are good picks under different managers. So I'd go for the ones that I think are reliable under both, and that's probably Bruno Fernandes and Dalot. OK, well, there's only one question or one person I can put this next question to. It's about a Spurs player. It's about that man, Dominic Solanke. Very simple. Keep.
I think I might sell him this week, Kels. He looked absolutely exhausted by the end of the League Cup match in midweek, and I didn't think he looked fully fit. And now Richarlison is back and available as well, so it's a difficult one. His numbers are terrible as well at the moment in terms of attacking returns, playing so deep. I think if you've got nothing else to do, I'd be moving Dominic Solanke on. That graphic on the screen right now is quite telling as well. 2 shots and none on target in his last 3 Premier League appearances. Yeah. When there is so many other informed budget strikers even cheaper than him, does that make you even more desperate to sell? Absolutely, because, 7.7 million. We've just spoken about Cunha, we spoke about Visser in that section as well. There's so many, Chris Wood. You can get so much budget out of Solanke and invest elsewhere. I just think for me, he isn't doing what we want him to do, which is scoring goals. And if you're not scoring goals, it's very hard to hold you in FPL. We may as well call this the Fantasy Forward Show because so many of our conversations are about forwards. And this next one that you've sent in is as well. Is João Pedro to Raúl Jiménez for a free transfer a no-brainer? What do you think, Oscar?
Yeah, we still don't have a firm date on João Pedro's exact return. It could be 2 or 3 game weeks or more, so after the international break. Whereas Jimenez has got a really nice block of 4 or 5 fixtures ahead still. He's in great form. So, yeah, I'd make that switch.
Would you make that switch as well, Harry?
Yeah, I think I would. The only caveat is I feel like if you've held him this long, we're getting to the point where he might be back soon. So you might think, well, I've held him for 5 or 6 weeks injured and you just hold on to him. But I think because we don't have a firm date, I would sell him. OK, well, it's time now for us to take a look at our guest teams. And these guys have got plenty to think about this week. So we're going to start with your team, Harry. You've already revealed that you're thinking of doing a big transfer. Talk us through your side as it stands and how likely that transfer is to happen. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with my team. I've got 2 free transfers, though, and it is the big Haaland debate for me. I've got a couple of options going into the weekend. I could either do a double switch, which is that Haaland down to Matheus Cunha of Wolves and Mavididi up to Mo Salah. That would be 2 free transfers. Or, again, talking about Dominic Solanke, I could just take him out and move to Matheus Cunha. I'm almost certain that the Wolves forward will be in my team by the deadline. It's just whether it's in place of Haaland as part of a double switch or in place of Dominic Solanke.
OK, let's take a look at Oscar's team now then, because you actually made a move last night, and I'm guessing that's because you knew that there was a price rise coming potentially.
Yeah, it's for that exact reason. Yeah, I've got a few flags as well. So if any of those flags players miss out, then I've at least got Pedro Porro off the bench, which isn't the end of the world. Yeah, I used one free transfer last night, which was Solanke to Cunha. And obviously I will miss out on that Ipswich fixture in game week 11 it is. But Cunha's home to Southampton that week, in fairness. I'm going back and forth on Haaland and Palmer captaincy. You talked earlier about all the City's injuries, so it is tempting me to back Palmer. But as it stands, Haaland captain, Palmer vice.
You mentioned that you've got flags, but you've also got a couple of strong players on your bench, Pedro Porro and Semenyo. I know Semenyo's got City at home, but any consideration over starting either of those two?
At the moment, no, but I do like to get good depth in my team, especially as we head into December in a month's time when there's really loads of fixtures, rotation, injuries. So, yeah, this season I'm trying to give myself more depth on the bench, basically, which, has afforded me good depth if someone doesn't play this week.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. OK, well then, Sam, a wry smile on your face, and that's because you've got a bit of a dilemma, haven't you? Because this is your current team, but this might not look anything like your team post the Game Week 10 deadline.
I don't like my team very much at the moment.
Join the club. My team, by the way. I don't mind your team.
I wouldn't blame you if you didn't like mine. There's a lot of problems in it. As in, Vardiol is currently flagged and we don't really know what's happening there. I have to wait for Pep to talk. I'm a bit worried about Solanke's fitness, so I want to see what Postecoglou's got to say about that. Sean Dyche spoke yesterday about Dwight McNeil, said he was hopeful, but he's been with the physios, so we'll have to see there. Obviously, I've still got Barker on my bench. My bench isn't very strong, so in terms of covering that, it's a bit of a problem. I have no Liverpool attack, no Arsenal attack,
OK,
no Chelsea
you've
attack.
justified it, but just to confirm, what Sam is considering doing is a wild card.
Thinking about it.
You've put together a potential wild card team, and this is it.
Yeah, so this has come from the flags that we saw as a result of the League Cup mostly. I think it is a moment where I was waiting for Game Week 12, as I've been saying on the pod that we do together, but I'm looking at my team now, and normally I say if there's 5 players I want to change, now's that moment. In this team, there's 4 players that have remained from my current team, so it feels like at the moment, the real problem I have here is that there's no Haaland, and I don't know how comfortable I feel selling him.
I was going to say, it's one of those where at the moment it looks brilliant, doesn't it, having Vissa, Cunha, Raúl, Jiménez, but it would also be very hard to get back to Haaland as well, which must be in your consideration.
Absolutely. Now, with that team that you've just seen, there is 2 million in the bank. So that does allow me to maybe make moves to change up the way that I'm invested in Chelsea. Potentially, I could go for Cole Palmer. Instead of going for Cole Palmer, I could go for Nico Jackson. I could do the same with Saka and Havertz at Arsenal and try to cover, for want of a better way of saying it, those 2 attacks. But I feel right now Mo Salah is the premium to have, and I'm really struggling to find a way to have him and Haaland and not feel like the rest of the team is still compromised. I kind of feel like if you wildcard right now, you have to play the fixtures and you have to play the form of players. And with Man City missing so many of the players that would assist Haaland, maybe it is the time to risk not having him.
How likely are you to go to do it?
I think I'm 50-50. I'm really on the fence with what to do.
OK, well, we'll have to see what happens, see what the managers say in their press conferences throughout Friday as well. There's not too long left on the programme, so we do have to, of course, focus in on the captaincy as well. And it's a pretty tricky one this week as well. Let's bring Oscar and Harry back in as well. Would you say, Harry, that it's as simple as if you own Haaland, you captain him, if you own Salah, you captain him, one of those two?
Yeah, even as a Chelsea fan, I know Cole Palmer's been great, but Manchester United under Van Nistelrooy means I probably will go Haaland or Salah, depending on which one of them I own by the deadline. If you own both, that's when you have a bit of a difficult decision to make. Yeah,
if you do own both, firstly, I'm very envious. Secondly, Oscar, which way would you go?
Yeah, I'm jealous as well for anyone that's got to both of them. If I had Salah, he'd definitely be my captain this week. Dunk could miss out again for Brighton. They're playing at home. He's got more points than anyone. So I'd say Salah's probably the best pick. And then Haaland in second, Palmer in third.
OK, yeah, the big hitters, as always, amongst it. Let's take a look at the standings of our poll. Then this is what you guys are saying about where you're going to put your armband on. 31% saying Haaland, but 41% are going Salah, 20% on Palmer, 8% are saying other. Which other names would you like to throw in there, Sam?
Saka, potentially, as well. I know it's the lunchtime kickoff and I don't really like captaining in that one, but Newcastle's defence haven't been great, and I know they're at home and they are better there, but I still think that he should be in that conversation as well. I think you could throw Brian Mbeumo in there, you could throw Wissa in there, you could throw Cunha in there. All these players that have got nice fixtures, we never captain them because they're cheap. But sometimes we should look at them if they've got a nicer fixture.
Do you think that Palmer would be a higher percentage on that graphic if it wasn't for the managerial change at Manchester United as well?
Absolutely. I think had the manager change not happened at Manchester United, Palmer would have been a very popular captain this week.
Oscar, throw some other names in if maybe you don't own Haaland or Salah. Do you agree with some of Sam's names there?
Yeah, it's hard to think of anyone else. I mean, I think everyone's got like one of those top three: Haaland, Salah, Palmer. Beyond that, yeah, I agree. Maybe Mbeumo. Maybe Watkins. You know, Van der Ven picked up an injury midweek, so they struggled last season when he was out for a while. So maybe someone like Watkins could do well.
Sam's very thankful for you reminding her of that, being with her Spurs hat on. Thank you so much for joining us, Harry. The very best of luck with that transfer conundrum. I'm looking forward to seeing if Harry does get rid of Erling Haaland.